Hi, my name is Beer, and let's start with Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. This is a massive, challenging action RPG that drops you into a vast open world full of interesting characters and creatures. The game is made by Capcom, a Japanese company, but the whole setting of Dragon's Dogma is European. So you may think maybe because of that this game features some ridiculous moments, but Capcom was really serious about the job. They went all around Europe to actually get a lot of information, especially for the backgrounds and environments in the Dragon's Dogma. They looked at architecture and buildings and things of that nature, and also just natural environments as well. Also took many pictures and tried to recreate those as closely as possible. Well, a bunch of Japanese people in Europe taking pictures? Who could have thought? Anyway, developers actually did a lot of research in Europe that helped recreate stuff in-game, and that level of dedication is truly admirable. Dragon's Dogma has more strategy and more dynamic fights than usual action RPG games. You know, you can climb monsters here, and that is super cool. Also, it's a tougher game in general. But if you like to explore the open world and love fantasy games, you can't ignore it. Gamers are talking that this is an underrated gem and is a must-play for every open-world RPG fan. Ghost of Tsushima. Vast open world and intense melee carnage are right up the alley for everyone who likes Witcher games. Sadly, to play this game you will need to have one of those Sony devices called the PlayStation, although rumors are floating around the internet that Ghost of Tsushima will be ported to PC as well. But honestly, I have been talking about these rumors in my videos for a few years now, and in reality nothing has changed, so don't get your hopes high up. There is hope of course, but it's very obscure at the moment. And the Ghost of Tsushima itself is gorgeous. I was playing it for days and had a lot of fun doing various quests, slicing enemies in many pieces and adoring the beautiful nature. And by beautiful nature I mean everything except bears. They hop out of nowhere and show you that you are not the boss here, usually by killing you in one hit. Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. So here you play as a young girl who decided to save our world from evil and corruption. And by corruption, I don't mean bureaucracy between humans and monsters, but the evil that changes good animals, so they become bad animals. Ooh. I know, right? And those animals are all robotic, cybernetic dinosaurs. Really cool concept that made this game famous. Don't worry, it's not some distant planet with alternative history. It's just a post-apocalyptic world where you are trying to unlock its secrets and learn everything about the great event that raised mechanical animals and plunged humanity into the Stone Age again. I really like the combat of Horizon because all that slicing and shooting feels really satisfying. Both parts of the game are kinda similar. I played the second part a few years apart from the first one, and aside from a few cool special effects and visuals, it's the same game. I couldn't tell the difference. Although Forbidden West is available only for PlayStation owners so far, we will see the PC port sooner or later. So in general, Horizon is not cruel or dark or anything like Witcher in terms of story and quests. You'll find no boobs here as well. Yeah, not even one. Although you can mod the PC version of the game to your liking. But the combat and open world and monsters are really cool, and I can recommend this game for you without any regrets. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. As people say, this game is a mix of Batman, Assassin's Creed, The Witcher and Tetris. Why Tetris, you ask? As I always say, in this game, just like in Tetris, enemies will come at you in all shapes and sizes at different speeds, and you will have to make them disappear if you want to survive. See, Middle-earth is just like Tetris. Deal with it. Here the visuals and the world captures the essence of Middle-earth absolutely perfectly. You know, in the same way like potato salad captures your taste buds, just like that. If you are a fan of Tolkien's world, this game will make you an addict. This is a real orc-killing simulator after all. The story is also nice to say the least, and combat is very satisfying. You will feel as a bit overpowered combat god, but that won't affect the gameplay itself. You will always get some really hard adversaries to test the strength of your mental balls. Don't be shy, have them big and hairy so your enemies would die from fear alone. Outward Definitive Edition. This is an open-world survival game with Souls-like combat mechanics. In this edition you will find both DLCs, new weapons, dungeons and also several life quality improvements. The game has only a mostly positive review score on Steam, but it doesn't do the justice. Most people who are giving a dislike spend 40 to 60 hours in-game, and that honestly looks like some kind of masochism. Most of the time I don't have such amount of hours accumulated even on the games I actually like. People are complaining about balancing, but you just have to accept that this is a difficult game, and you are probably not as good as you imagined. Anyway, Outward is like Skyrim and Dark Souls had a weird hybrid baby, and instead of abortion, this time they decided to keep it. If you like both games, why not? Outward has some problems, but in general it is a nice game. Elden Ring. Open world where you will be doing a lot of slashing, bashing and rolling around. Sounds familiar? Of course it does. Game is Souls-like, if I can say that about almost a sequel to the actual Dark Souls and themed around dark fantasy. It has the ability for you to create your own custom characters instead of playing a fixed protagonist. So you can create a character that you may want to immersively merge in with, or a character that you wish to be, or to bang. Honestly, I don't like Dark Souls because I suck as a gamer, but I bought the Elden Ring and I played for hours and hours. I died a lot and the amount of deaths finally filled my cup of patience and I abandoned it. Now I'm really thinking that I must go back and show all these creepy creatures who the real boss is. Probably not me, but I will try to perform an exorcism session on my noobness, just as my long-dead grandmother usually yelled at me.
I
will not translate that. Also, if you like me suck at these difficult games, keep in mind that on PC version you can download some mods that can adjust the difficulty to your needs.
Isn't that cheating?
I don't know, is your girlfriend cheating on you a cheating? Of course it's cheating, but it's your game, do whatever you want. Greedfall Gold Edition. Here you'll have a complete freedom in character progression. Play as a male or female, customize your appearance and freely choose your abilities, spells and skills. But do not expect miracles, this is not a highest level RPG, although it looks like one. Greedfall was created in 3 years and its budget was about $5 million. For a AAA open world game like this, it's the bare minimum for it to be decent, so treat it more like a very expensive indie game instead. Somewhat similar budget had the Kingdom Come Deliverance team, and Skyrim's budget was about 100 million. For it you can literally create 20 games like Greedfall, so keep that in mind before you start comparing Greedfall with the giants of the genre. And this version, Greedfall Gold Edition, includes a DLC, so this is a better version of the game if you compare it with just the basic Greedfall. It is a decent game and, as I've said many times, I would give it about 7 cold beers out of 10. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Bound to protect a young lord who is a descendant of an ancient bloodline, you become the target of many vicious enemies. When the young lord is captured, nothing will stop you on a perilous quest to regain your honor. Well, except death. Death will stop you many times. Keep in mind that Sekiro is the creation of the same developers as the Souls games, and it's meant for people with masochistic tendencies. If you hate yourself, this game is for you. Although I have one piece of advice on how to easily beat this game. It's very simple. Stop being a noob and get good. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. If you're used to old-school Assassin's Creed games, keep in mind that Odyssey isn't like the first titles, and among your enemies you will encounter various monsters and mythological beings from legends, like Medusa for example. The game really has some witchery vibes. Here you'll also have weapons with supernatural abilities like increased strength or the ability to instantly knock out an opponent's shield. So here you'll explore ancient Greece, from lush vibrant forests to volcanic islands and bustling cities, and start a journey in a world shaped by gods and men. Here decisions will impact how your Odyssey unfolds. You can play through multiple endings thanks to the dialogue system and the choices you make. Customize your gear, ship and special abilities to become a legendary assassin. People on Steam are praising smooth mechanics and great visuals, although the story is like your cousin, a bit dull and naive. Elex 1 and 2. Alright, so Elex and Elex 2 are made by the same people who created Gothic games, and if you are an old-school gamer, this information should spark real interest into your heart. It is set in a post-apocalyptic science fantasy universe full of original characters, deep moral choices, and dinosaurs. Yeah, you can be slain by a Penisoraptor here. Well, they may be called differently in-game, but anyone who slays you is a total dick, that's for sure. Also, here you'll have a jetpack, and that is amazing because you can explore not only horizontally but also erect yourself vertically and find some nice treasures hidden high up the hills. The novelty which distinguishes Elex from the first game the most is an entire system of aerial combat, with all its benefits, including enemies with an improved AI. Both games have mostly positive reviews on Steam and kinda similar scores on Metacritic, so I don't recommend buying them for the full price. Wait for a sale and then snatch them both. The discount value varies from 50 to 75%, and there is no better channel covering sales than this one. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. The game was released in 2012, but 10 years later it was remastered and sold, you know the drill, as a new game with a price of a new game. Everyone was raging, but now it's not a problem anymore. On various sales you can get it with 60 or 70% discount. The game itself is designed by the Elder Scrolls Oblivion lead designer Ken Rolston and set in a world with a lore of 10,000 years of fiction created by New York Times bestselling author R.A. Salvatore, or however his name is pronounced. I don't know him, but he's obviously very good. So this is a huge open world game, although be warned that some players sometimes encounter game-breaking bugs. I literally read that in a comment that was written a few months ago. It's not old news or something, keeping the age of the game in mind. Anyway, the game itself is really good, so you may want to risk it. Monster Hunter World. You'll take on the role of a hunter and slay ferocious monsters in a living ecosystem, where you can use the landscape and its diverse inhabitants to get the upper hand. You can hunt alone or in co-op with up to 3 other players, and use materials collected from fallen foes to craft new gear. There are 14 different weapons at your disposal, each with its own unique characteristics and styles of attack. Many hunters acquire proficiency in multiple types, while others prefer to attain mastery of one. Monster Hunter World has 87% of positive reviews on Steam, left by more than 200,000 players. Incredible achievement. Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you take Skyrim and strip it of dragons, trolls, elves and magic, you might get a very boring game. Not as boring as your sister, but really, you may think that it would probably suck. But these Czech developers who created Kingdom Come Deliverance managed to make a realistic medieval Skyrim-like game that is not only not boring, but is one of the most famous open-world games nowadays, and definitely a good choice for the Witcher fans. It has a great story, interesting missions and a really beautiful world set in an ancient part of nowadays Czech Republic. So grab your wooden sword and show everyone how to fight. Well, I'll be honest, this game is terribly hard at the beginning. A simple drunken peasant will destroy your dignity at ease. The learning curve is not friendly at all, but you will learn, everyone learns. You're not worse than everyone, right? Although in general, the harsh reality of a level 1 villager that decided to become a warrior is not very pleasant, like in any game. And combat here is very realistic. I'm not kidding, some duels against stronger foes can span 15 minutes or even more. Here you will really feel like a lone warrior fighting for your life. Immersion definitely over 9,000. Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order and Survivor. From all the games I have played in this list, Star Wars Jedi has the best and, at least for me, the most similar combat and battle mechanics to the third Witcher. First part is honestly one of the best action-adventure RPGs I have ever played. It's considered a Souls-like game, but it has difficulty levels, so you can just crank it down to the very bottom, choose pussy difficulty and enjoy the game without a lot of stress. Well, stress will still be there, because you are your own worst enemy when it goes to jumping over various crevasses. And this game is filled with every abyss a man can think of. And in the second part, the story of Jedi Cal Kestis continues. He has a beard now, so he looks a bit cooler than before. A beard makes everyone look cooler, so if you don't have one, you know what to do. And I mean, shave some beardy man while he's asleep and glue his beard onto your face. Anyway, in the second part, you will be able to use some upgraded abilities. Also, as it always goes with the sequel, you will find larger areas to explore and more to discover. But don't you dare to start playing the franchise from the second part. It would be a blasphemy beyond imagination. People have been thrown into Republic's Central Judiciary Detention Center for crimes way lesser than this. Hogwarts Legacy. I had a lot of fun playing this game, although I bought it with the idea of playing it a bit, making a review to my channel and forgetting about it. Well, turns have tabled while I played it. It was so much fun to explore the land and meet various characters, I refused to convert it into a job. So I just played the game for my own pleasure and completely skipped it on my channel. So far, it's the best game I tried this year. Well, Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield is on the horizon, so Hogwarts Legacy will probably be decrowned sooner or later. Or not, I don't know, I only hope. All in all, Hogwarts Legacy was one of the few games that actually survived the hype train and never crashed anywhere. The game has above 90% of positive reviews on Steam, and I would give the game 10 cold beers out of 10 without much thinking. The world is very detailed, quests are handcrafted and fun, magic truly feels like magic, and the world is really open, although the map is shaped like a bow, very narrow and long. But that's maybe a thing of a lore. I don't know, I have never read the books, only seen the movies. Only thing that actually spoiled the game a bit was how soon I got the ability to fly. That absolutely crashed the exploration on foot part. Flying in Hogwarts is awesome, but I would have given this ability way later in the game. The variety of enemies also could be wider, but hey, it's a great game. You have all my recommendations. Dragon Age Inquisition. Here, instead of a single hero, you will have a team and you can control all party members. Game is plot-driven, has a deep and interesting storyline and great characters who will provide you with many hours of fun. Most fans of the franchise like Dragon Age Origins more than Inquisition, but if you look straight from the perspective of which game is more like The Witcher, Inquisition wins. It's more dynamic and I never used the pause game ability while playing it. I literally forgot which key does that and never used it. Several years later I did the same mistake with the Outer Worlds. I finished the game and only then I saw someone else's video showing that you could slow time in there. Well, maybe that is useful on the hardest difficulty, but on normal it was absolutely useless stuff. Anyway, both Origins and Inquisition are great games. You have my recommendations, that's for sure. Gothic Series. Although morally they are all kinda old games, but if you're not a sucker for a modern, high-end graphics, try them out. From the first Gothic game released in 2001 to the last spin-off released in 2010 and named Arcania, most of those open-world RPGs have immersive stories, original worlds and gameplay that will pin you to your chair. Except probably Arcania. It's bad, only about 50% of its Steam reviews are positive. Avoid. Anyway, you can download various graphic enhancement mods so your Gothic games could look shiny as new. Also, there's a remake of the first Gothic game incoming. There is no release date set yet, but graphics-wise it looks amazing. Though gameplay-wise, we will see. The demo version, called Gothic Playable Teaser, was not received very well, but let us hope for the best. Immortals: Fenyx Rising. I was expecting nothing from it. It looks childish and colorful and I don't like any of that. You know, I'm 40 years old, you can't buy me with colors. But I started to feel that something is a sus with my prejudice when I heard the first joke, which was really good, but I'm not gonna spoil it to you. And later I started to realize that the whole game is filled with jokes that I find funny, even in the character creation menu. Fun thing is that during the whole game, gods Zeus and Prometheus are talking in the background about you in the past tense, like everything you do has already happened. You know, when they say,
"And then he saw a terrible monster."
You can be sure that you will see a terrible monster in a second, because it's your story that has already happened, but you don't know how yet, only gods know. In other words, you have to live the story gods are talking about. So let's hope that they don't say anything like,
"And then he put some pineapples into his potato salad."
No. This is not a horror game, so let's hope they will not say that. Although avoid this game if you don't like puzzles. Fenyx Rising is filled with them, but if you liked solving puzzles in Skyrim, for example, you will feel right at home here as well. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Here you'll put on the shoes of a legendary Viking warrior on a quest of glory. Explore England's dark ages as you raid your enemies, grow your settlement and build your political power. Yeah, this is one of the most innovative Assassin's Creed games, and the Nordic theme of Vikings is what fans of the franchise always wanted, although it is far from the top predators of the genre, such as Title or Third Witcher or even Skyrim by the quality of story and characters. Also, no boobs for you here. Viking game without boobs. What is this blasphemy? Anyway, it is still a nice title, but wait for a sale. The price discount may be around 70%. The Elder Scrolls V Enderal. This is a game based on Skyrim's engine, and if you own Skyrim Special Edition, it is free to take. Well, officially it is a mod, but in every other aspect it's a separate game with its own page on Steam or GOG. And I mean it has different mechanics, story and the world. It has nothing to do with the original Skyrim lore in any way. Enderal alone will burn from about 30 to 100 hours of your time. Here you'll find an open world with its own lore and handcrafted, detailed and diverse landscapes. Explore deserts, forests, jungles, mountains, your sister and more.
Wait, what?
Nothing, shut up. Enderal also has a great story with believable characters and psychological undercurrents. It's also voiced by professional actors. The game has its own overhauled gameplay, with classes, experience points, new special abilities, survival mechanics and challenging combat. Also, if you are tired from fighting, here you'll find a housing system allowing you to design your own home. Thank you for watching, have a nice day.
And I'll see you next time, bye.